I just watched the long awaited Spartacus, House of Asher 2 episode premiere. It was interesting. Now, before I go any further, let me just say this. I count the original Spartacus as one of the greatest of all time, certainly in the category of action and fantasy dramas. I have watched every original episode almost enough to recite the dialogue. I could not imagine a world where I would not be on board for even a glimpse of the greatness that was. Just to acknowledge that tiny bit of bias there. Okay. Also, spoiler alert, it would be impossible to talk about this without giving away at least a little bit of information. I expected there to be some problems with the initial storyline. After all, Asher's demise in the original series was pretty legendary. But Asher was a good villain, so I can't fault producers for going back to him to explore more of the world of Spartacus. But I was pretty sure that I was going to have to forgive some clunky writing in order to love this new series. And I was not wrong. Okay. Um, they even managed to include Lucy Lawless in this epically bad scene where they sort of half-ass explained why time is being reset. To be clear, I wasn't offended. I fully expected that part, but it was bad. Okay. After that tragic bit of backstory, we got into the real meat and potatoes of the new series, and we were treated to familiar scenes of men in the sands. I won't spoil it completely for anyone, but here are some takeaways. At least 30 minutes of the first episode were utterly predictable. It took that long for there to be any interesting twists at all. There were similarities to the original series, but the direction definitely seemed to take an approach that almost seemed more demure at first. But in the end, I'm just going to say it had the same amount of shock and awe, but it was a lot less interesting. For instance, and this is going to sound funny, but the use of prosthetic penises was so obvious, it actually distracted from the story. Where the original series made nudity seem real and natural and even inviting, this display here stood out like a sore thumb, begging for attention, and therefore distracting wholly in a different way. There were some writing problems, a lot of them, and they need to be addressed. The new Dottore, for example, played by an incredible actor, Graham McTavish, is made to look completely incompetent. The men barely respect him. There are no scenes of him molding the men, just plenty of scenes of him barking orders that are barely followed. And that's a problem. The titular Asher is shown to be at least somewhat clever, but the writers didn't go far enough in establishing him. Here's my final analysis, though. Spartacus, House of Asher, has some major challenges in writing and direction. The feel is similar to the original, but there are problems that casual viewers won't likely ignore. That being said, as a diehard, I am rooting for the series. I give it a C for now.